Hello and welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. My name is Maddie, Kendra Nielsen's COO, and today you'll be listening to episode 283, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, Could Slowing Down Save Your Sanity? We hope you enjoy.
Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. It is a new year and I am so excited. Honestly, it's probably been a massive whirlwind with the holidays, with everything going on that you probably are feeling quite exhausted. But I love new beginnings, and that's what's exciting to me. And to focus on that, those next steps, those other things that can happen. And I want to share a little bit today about a book I have been reading, recommended by a client, called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Now, this has some spiritual roots, so it might not resonate with all listeners, but the principles absolutely will. I want to talk about this because it has been really game-changing for me, especially after a recent trip that I took. Now, I talk a lot on the podcast about slowing down, about living with intentionality. You often have to do that by slowing down, but enough of us don't make that effort. And I hope that you are doing that. I hope that you're pausing enough in your life to make that a priority. I want to start with this story of what ended up happening on my trip. I went on a 3-week trip. I don't know if you want to call it a midlife crisis or what, but I was feeling so restless and really struggling to come alive again in the way that I have in the past and just experiencing burnout. I know that you've all experienced that to some degree. I've had a lot of episodes on that, but when it was suggested that I read this book, even the title resonated with me. Oh, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. I want to listen to this. And even before then, I was thinking very much like I need to shake things up a little bit because I am feeling so restless. So I scheduled a 3-week trip to Eastern Europe with one of my best friends. We initially were just going to travel around, but then we found that it was more cost effective to just hop on a cruise ship and do it that way because we didn't know the language or whatever. But what I didn't know is that I would not have service in these areas. I wouldn't have Wi-Fi. I wouldn't have access to emails. And so I was forced, even though I had prepared people ahead of time that this was a possibility, of completely detaching from the world. That means no scrolling. That means nothing. All I had on my phone was a game and some audiobooks. Sometimes I would listen to audiobooks and sometimes I'd play the game while I was listening, but mostly I was not on my phone. And what I learned was incredible. I loved the stillness. And I've always loved stillness in different ways, but I realize how necessary it is to turn down the noise in our life. So I want to talk about that today. The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry really spoke to me after the cruise when I learned how to slow down. Now, I did a lot of playing and a lot of exploring, but I simplified my life in a way that I haven't in a very long time, if maybe ever. I want to talk to you about some of those principles that I've also learned in this book that I think would really help you. The author talks about the hurry culture. Well, what is that? That's the chronic rushing and busyness that drains energy and presence and well-being, and that impacts parents and spouses. That's increased stress and overwhelm and strained relationships. Some of the things that we can do is simplify our schedule, just like I did on my trip. Now that it's a new year, what can we do to reduce those unnecessary commitments to create room for what truly matters? In his book, he says, hurry is the great enemy of holiness, health, and happiness. What are we doing that eliminates that happiness? Think about this because we have this space before kids go back to school, and hopefully you even have some time off from work to really think about what matters. What do I really want? What is the life that I want to achieve? And have I just been filling it with things that maybe don't matter? When I got back from my trip, I really wanted to remember that a lot of those things that we fill our life with are just things. I started to realize that even though I had a lot of worthy goals, maybe it didn't matter as much as I thought it would. Maybe it's okay that I'm not progressing as rapidly as I want to in pickleball or in Spanish. Maybe it's okay that I'm not hand-making gifts or at every single performance of my kids. Maybe it's okay to let things go. And I want to share one big insight that I had that was a little bit heartbreaking, but maybe you can relate to. One of my sons has some behavioral problems, and We really struggle being patient with him. He's our youngest. Honestly, it's hard to be just as involved and have the stamina that we did for our first children. And sometimes it just feels like too much because he's got a lot more energy than our other kids. Different struggles come up. And we were wondering how his parent-teacher conferences would go, how he was doing in his new school and classroom, if they were seeing some of the behavioral problems that we were seeing at home. And the answer was surprising. They said that he was incredible, that he shines, and they couldn't say enough good things about him. I started to wonder, am I more of the problem than I realized? And I started to observe how I was responding to him and how other people were responding to him at home. And I realized that all of us were so much more distracted than we realized. And he was begging for attention in often those negative ways. Now, I'm trained to recognize these things, and it slipped through my awareness. I suspected that could be the case, and I tried to course correct here and there. But since being home, I've really made a diligent effort to just simplify my life and be present with my son. And it's been incredible, the changes that have occurred. He's like a different kid, and it kind of breaks my heart thinking, man, how much attention did I give to my phone? Did I give to my job? Did I give to other things that were worthy goals and worthy ways to spend my time, but maybe not the most worthy way to spend my time? So I have been recommitting, and that's why I wanted to speak about this today, because maybe this resonates with you. How are you creating rest and stillness that's essential to have that true joy and true fulfillment, not only for you, but for all of your family members? The author talks about embracing intentional rest and quiet moments to counteract that societal pressure to always do more. And I've been caught up in that myself many times. So I recently talked about a personal audit. In that, hopefully you're doing that, you can get very intentional about what actually matters. My husband started doing something lately that I really appreciate based on feedback that I gave him. He started coming in the house, plugging in his phone right at the door and leaving it there for the night. And I cannot tell you how much that has improved our relationship. That one simple thing, and seeing him thrive as a parent. I love that. So I started doing that. I started turning off my phone. I started putting it away. And it breaks my heart thinking how much time has gone to this stupid little rectangle. How much time it gets compared to our children, how much attention. So in this book, he also says, if you're going to be holy and healthy, you have to be humble enough to let the hunter get you. So this just means accept slowing down rather than chasing more things. Build rhythms of work and rhythms of rest. And I know that sounds beautiful, but how many of us are actually doing something day to day? I often teach on this podcast and my clients about Power Hour and about slowing down, having that regular time each day to slow down. But think about it on a bigger level too. What can you take away for this new year that will improve your relationships? Because I know they have in my life recently as I've let go of more. How can you create predictable daily and weekly routines and find peace even if there's chaos at home? The author said the rhythm of work, rest, and worship are absolutely critical if you want to thrive in an over-hasty world. And that's what we're living in, an over-hasty world. I want to pause that so much. I think that's the appeal to me for traveling, because it forces me to slow down. Well, maybe we don't need to be forced. Maybe we can do it in our own environment. So how can we prioritize relationships and that presence that my son was so desperately craving and I didn't even notice? We can choose mindful presence with loved ones over that constant busyness. I've been thinking for a long time about going back to school for my PhD. I love school. I love learning, but I keep going back and forth, trying to be very prayerful, trying to be wise in my decision, because I know it's a cost not only to me, but to my family. And I keep going back and forth because I want to do it right. I don't want to just be looking for that next fix, that next thing to fill my cup, when it could be instead slowing down, becoming more intentional, reconnecting with my family instead of filling it with more. The author also says, you can't outrun your soul's need for connectedness, stillness, and rest. We all try to outrun that, but we can't. We need to say no. We need to set boundaries. There's no other way to have true joy. So guard your time and your energy by saying no to non-essential demands. The key to living well in a hurried culture is to ruthlessly eliminate that hurry. All of this matters because of the benefits that come to our relationships, that come to us personally when we set those healthy boundaries. So again, this is just a simple plug to have more rest, to have more intentional connection by slowing down. My friends, seek to simplify your schedule. Practice that intentional rest and stillness. Build those healthy rhythms. Prioritize relationships and presence, even if it means doing nothing. Like I used to think I had to do all these things with my kids, and then I realized simply sitting on the couch and laughing with them is enough. And I'm practicing that because I like to go, go, go. Several of them don't. They just want to giggle with me. They want to cuddle me. They want to bake something. They don't want to do anything big. It just can be simple. So say no to hurry and protect those boundaries. I hope you take this to heart, and I highly suggest reading his book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. I also want to share that we are introducing big things the next episode, so stay tuned. And don't forget to check out our life-changing courses at fulfillmenttherapy.org or sign up for personal coaching to dive deeper into cultivating fulfillment and well-being into your life. Thanks for tuning in and listening today. I'll see you back here for our next episode in just a few days.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. As a reminder, for 2026, we will only be posting on Mondays, part 1 and part 2 of our episodes to get them to you all the more sooner. And we will see you back here real soon.